Welcome to another episode of the Wolf and the Doctor podcast. I'm your host, Dr. John Devereaux, alongside Glenn Curry, and I'm going to turn it over to my co-host because he's running the show today.
All right, man. Thank you, man. I got an interesting show for you. I've been waiting for this for about a couple weeks, man. I had an interesting topic, so I'm interested to see your take on it, man.
So, like, the tables have kind of been flipped this time because normally I'm the one who's blindsiding Glenn with the topics to get his real-time takes. So he's in the driver's seat today. I'm a little scared. Now I don't know how you be feeling.
You should be doing these tough questions. So I got an interesting topic for you today, right? So it really came from my wife and I. We were in the car about a couple weeks ago, and we were just talking about, when to take an opportunity and, when to kind of let go of certain things, right? But before I get started, I really want to throw out this quote to you and get your take on it. And it says that nothing is more expensive than a missed opportunity. What's your take on that?
It's an interesting quote because, you and I have been talking and we've been discussing stocks. Yeah. And there's so much volatility that's involved with stocks where you're supposed to get in at the right time. But if you miss that, the price can be going up and you could be losing, hundreds and thousands of dollars off of just being a few seconds or a few minutes late. So, I'm a firm believer that, you definitely want to take those opportunities when they present themselves, as long as you're able to handle those opportunities when they present themselves. Because sometimes opportunities can come around, but you're not prepared for it, So I think it does involve a level of self-awareness. I would say to know that opportunity is right for you at this time, because timing is everything. Timing is everything, I believe.
And you made a great point, right? And the reason I asked is we had a discussion, right, on, most people take the 9-to-5 route, right? Mm-hmm. And then some people take the opportunity and go into business for themselves. What's more important, stability or opportunity?
I think it depends on the person. And I know that's probably not the answer you want to hear, but once again, going back to the stock market, some people are very risk adverse. Some people are really good and can handle risk. So with opportunities, when it talks about, or when you're talking about going into business for yourself, that's a huge risk. And a lot of people aren't willing to give up that stability, in order to try to realize those goals. Now, we know the profit margins could be a lot higher if you do go into a business for yourself, because in that case, you kind of get what you're putting in. Well, you get what you put into it, versus if I'm at a salary position, I can work as hard as I want to, but my salary is going to be this amount. You might be some bonuses here and there, but there's not going to be that much, flexibility with that. So for me, I think I have a balance of risk and then that need for stability, so I'm right there in the middle. And I think that's why I'm able to kind of dabble in both fields a little bit, of being a full-time entrepreneur and also a full-time 9-to-5er, if that's even a word.
Okay. Yeah, no. So now, you work in 9-to-5, right? And then you talked about the stock. Both of them, when you do your entrepreneur route, both of them comes with the ability to see things before it happens, right? Mm-hmm. Or at least be able to analyze it, like a calculated risk.
Yeah.
How do you determine what is a good opportunity and what's not?
You can't go off of the money. And I think a lot of people, they see the price that's associated with something, and that's what they're going to take. Man, this job's going to offer me, $10,000 more than this other job, so I'm going to go with the one that's the higher paying. Not knowing that job that's higher paying may require longer hours, a longer commute, more time that you got to work on a weekend. So there's a lot of, things that aren't really built into that price. All we see is that sticker price, and that's what we go with. So yeah, you just can't follow the money, because the money can lead you astray and you could end up worse off than you previously were. So I think, once again, it really just goes back to self-awareness. You got to know where you are, because if an opportunity came up for me, and I'll use my education field. If an opportunity came up for me to get promoted from a faculty member to an administrator, the opportunities could be there, but I know myself I'm not ready for that right now. because I haven't had that experience. I haven't, taken on those additional responsibilities that will make for a seamless transition into that role. So a lot of times when you think about people who are going from the 9 to 5 to entrepreneurship, are you prepared for that? Have you been doing that underlying work that's going to allow that transition to go through without, any too many hiccups? Because there's always going to be some hiccups.
There's always going to be
going to that entrepreneur route. But it really just requires a lot of self-awareness. And I mean, you've done it, like, as you transition from being an employee to running your own business. So, I mean, was there something for you that kind of clicked and said, like, you know what, I am ready to take this opportunity? Or were you just forced into that opportunity?
Yeah, I think for me, I was forced into the opportunity, right? Like, I always seen it and always desired it, but I never knew when the right time was to jump on it, right? It's like you said, there's always a monetary thing that you kind of put on it for opportunity. So for me, I was always like, well, I got to make a certain amount of money in order to realize my opportunity. I got to make $50K or have this in the savings to be able to jump on the opportunity when it arises. But sometimes it's just the right time, and that's it. And you can't put a monetary factor to it.
But see, also for you though, like, even before you went into that full-time role as an entrepreneur, you were already prepping for it. And see, that's the thing, like, even though you were kind of forced into it, maybe to go in a little bit before you were ready to, there's this saying, it's like, you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. Like, if you put in all that work, when the coach says, hey, yo, it's time for you to get in the game, you're ready because you've been doing the reps. So, like, for you, you was prepping for that, transition to entrepreneurship. So now it's just time to execute. You knew everything that you had to do. So just go out and do it.
Here's the better question, right? So with you in your photography business, obviously you dabbled in different, sectors in the photography, right? At what point, once you realize the opportunity and then you take it, does another opportunity arise within your business? Do you take it? How do you know if you're ready for that opportunity to scale your business or take on new clients or to even have a new business partner?
You said it best in one of our previous episodes where you're saying, like, you have to not only work inside your business, but have that external, view of your business and know where it's at. So I think that, coupled with that self-awareness, will let you know if you're ready to take on things. Like for me, I knew that I started getting, bigger gigs that required my equipment to be a little bit more efficient, with the photo booths. Like I said, when I first started out, I was doing like small parties, maybe 50 to 70 people. But as I started to do bigger events where I got like 400 to 500 people, those opportunities are coming now because of the work that I've been doing and like the quality of my work. But now it's time to step it up. So I think with that, it's like, okay, well, now I need to dive just a little bit further and invest a little bit more in the business to make sure that when these opportunities come, I'm able to handle them. So you have to always be aware of where you're at in your business. And then from there, you'll be able to see, like, if this is the right time, because opportunities can come up. But what if that big event was only a one-off and now I just invested all that money and now I'm going back to doing like the small scale events? So you got to make sure that there's going to be that constant influx of business to justify the investment. And that's not just like a random thing. I mean, it takes, months of preparation and, like I said, looking at the business and seeing where you're at and that potential for growth.
Yeah, and I think it's real important for like our viewers to understand, like, you have to always analyze your business, right? You can't just start it and analyze it in the beginning and then let it fall short, during first quarter, second quarter, third quarter. You have to continuously analyze your business, figure out what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, right? And how to maximize it, right? Or, minimize exposure to certain areas in your business, right? So how do you, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, how do you not over leverage yourself?
Ooh, that's tough to do because, hindsight's always 20/20. Like, you can take on an opportunity and then, like, man, looking back, I shouldn't have done that. And I think I gave an example on one of our previous episodes with the drone. Like, I thought drone photography was going to be something I would be able to add to my business. One, I don't like doing portraits. I don't like dealing with people. But like with the drone, I was like, I could fly my drone and, do some commercial, type stuff. But I didn't do the proper investigation for my market, and the demand for that type of service in this area. So I bought the drone, but I haven't been doing anything with it. It's back, probably sitting, it's still sitting right back there on that little bookshelf. And I haven't used it in like 7 or 8 months. So I'm not making any money from it. So looking back, I know that I'm not going to make that, mistake again. I'm not going to jump into something hastily without doing that proper research. So I think that's the way that you can make sure that you don't over leverage yourself. You got to always do that research. When working on this house, my pops, he tells me every time, you measure twice, cut once. All that prep work is the most important thing, because if you mess up on that one cut, now you got to start all over. So it's better to analyze thoroughly than execute the decision,
Absolutely. And I think we all desire, right, to get to a point in our business where we're thriving, we're making, money hand over fist, right? But when you think about a business, right, I think I was reading somewhere in an article where it says sometimes the depth to your business could be you grew too fast, right?
Mm-hmm.
And or you had too much money too fast, right? And you didn't know how to allocate it. Now, do you think that there's a point in where your business where you might get too much traffic or too much money too soon, and it can actually harm your business rather than actually push your business forward?
That's a good question, bro. Like, and then I'm gonna answer it, but then I do want to get your opinion on it.
All right,
because I think that getting or having a lot of success early can be detrimental, and I'm gonna use a different approach. But like getting a lot of business early can hurt you as well. Like for me, especially like with the photography stuff. Like I get a lot of people offering or wanting me like to do events and stuff for them, and I would never say no to anything. So then like I'm out here doing it, but the more that I'm doing, the less I'm enjoying the work. So I think that's what kills the entrepreneurs right there, is like the thing that you went into business for, the thing that you were once so passionate about, can now become like a burden to you where you don't want to devote the time to it. So I think that's what it was for me, is just accepting jobs that I didn't really want to do, but I felt like I shouldn't, miss out on those opportunities. But then, like I said, it was kind of killing that entrepreneur spirit in me. So it really, once again, goes back to that self-awareness. And that's why I had to scale my business back. That's why I don't do regular photography anymore. And I only do like my photo booths and even like the drone, because that's the stuff that I'm really passionate about. And that drive's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
But like for you, like just moving it outside of photography, but like as a realtor, I'm assuming like for you, it's easy to just overexpend yourself in the amount of services that you're trying to offer. Like you got to do like those cold calls sometimes. Yeah. And then you already told me about some of those customers that you had to deal with, like, like where you go above and beyond, and sometimes you might not even get to a closing. That would be the worst. So I mean, like, how has that been for you? And like, staying consistent with it, even with people, like, or even with it, like, just not always working out like the way that you wanted to.
Yeah, I think, dude, that's a great question, right? So I think early on, right, especially if you start off in a new career, I think you always want to do everything. And just kind of go back, like the photography, you always want to do everything, right? And that's what I wanted to do as a realtor. But what you find is everybody can't be your client, and everybody doesn't fall under the same umbrella for the services that you may want to provide. Right. So that's why you get a lot of realtors who specialize in luxury homes. There's a small group, right? Or somebody who only specializes in commercial, because what happens is you do over leverage yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like the old saying, right? It's like you got your hand in the bucket for too many things, you kind of spread yourself thin. And I think that that's one thing I had to learn early on. And like I said, I'm still a student in the game, and I'm going to always be a student when it comes to real estate, photography, or whatever. What I'm learning now is I have to pick my clientele, right? And then once I pick it, I have to be selective of who gets my time and who doesn't. Because if you do, you start to get better clients. So,
And
yeah.
I mean that, and I've seen you do that, like in the real estate. I've seen you, start specializing, even like with your photography, because you and I are the same. Like when we first started that, we'd accept any job, but now we had to shift that focus and become a little bit more concentrated on the target audience and building that audience. And how did you determine, like on the real estate side, who you want your target audience to be? Because I know you danced around a little bit.
Yeah, easy. How can I be the most effective? Right? Was the first question I asked myself. Am I most effective with this group or this group? Which one of them is going to allow me the least amount of time, but I can give the most amount of effort? That's how I kind of separated my clientele, right? If I'm spending 10 hours or 20 hours a week on a certain type of client, and the end result doesn't yield me the results that I want, then that's not a client that I want to deal with. If I can still devote the same amount of time, or less amount of time, to this certain clientele, but have a way bigger result, then that's what I'm going to specialize my efforts in, right? So, I mean, it's just really, really about minimizing risk in a sense, right? In this case, it's minimizing your time.
And time is our most valuable asset. And I think oftentimes a lot of people don't treat it as such. And I be saying all the time, I won't say who I be saying it to, but they're a business owner. And I'd be like, man, you out here nickel and diamond. Like, you need to start moving some weight. Right? Like, because your time, like, you don't want to devote your time to something that's going to give you pennies on the dollar, where that same time can be devoted to something that's going to give you quarters and dollars, right? The same way that you said, like, it's really important that we use our time in the most effective way, and that really does start by what's the reverse engineering, going back like, okay, this is how much I want to make. Who's going to pay me the amount that I need? Let me focus my efforts on that person or that group. So I think like the residual term that's been talked about on this episode so far is just that, not evaluation, but what do we talk about? Like when you're looking into your business. Why am I drawing a blank?
Deep dive?
No, we said it like 5 times too. I'm gonna be mad at myself when I go back and edit this. I'm drawing a blank. But whatever it is, it's like, you keep going in and analyzing. That's what it was. Yeah. Analyzing your business and your business practices to make sure that you are being as efficient as possible. Because if you're not being efficient, then that's increasing your costs in the long term.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, right? When you look at your business, right? You always look at the dollar amount, right? But the cost may not even come in the form of money. Like, how much does this cost you? How much energy? How much time? Like those things cost, and all of that plays a part into your business, your performance, everything. And if it's costing you more time and more energy than what you're yielding back, then man, you got to let it go.
And that's honestly the reason why I let so much go in my photography business, because as you and I were talking, like, you can do and we we always say that, like, we never want to do weddings again because of the amount of work. But then when we do the weddings, it's not too bad. Right, I don't know, but it's like that 8 hours that we devote to a wedding, and then all the time that comes after with editing the pictures and everything. It's like that time could be spent doing something else. And as you find these different opportunities or different ways to make money, then it really makes you think, do I really want to spend my time doing this, where I can spend my time doing this over here and make twice as much?
But it's like like I told you before, like when you start a business, right? You want to work on your business, not in your business, right? And the reason why that makes sense is because you're trying to figure out how can I allocate the least amount of time inside of my business, but still maximize the result. Like that's period across the board. So it's that's an opportunity, right?
Facts.
How do you seek that opportunity?
I think when I think of certain opportunities that I miss per se, like in business, I want to say like you, I wasn't ready for them, but I don't know if I knew that at the time. Right. I don't know. I just think of like missed opportunities as like events that I've turned down doing, and I think I got more comfortable with doing that the longer that I was in business, where you feel a little bit more comfortable, like just turn down events because you know that it's not for you, and not always chasing that money.
That's you made a really great point, right? Being comfortable saying no.
Yeah.
Like I think that's one thing we fear. So we just take on business. I'll take you as a client. Come on, yeah, I got you. Don't worry about it. I got you. Everybody wants to do that, right? Mm-hmm. But I think at some point we got to get to the point of just saying no. Right.
And unfortunately, you don't really get to that point until you've been tried, a few times. Okay. And then you get pushed to that point, unfortunately. Yeah. But I mean, that's real. And I think that's something that you grow into as a business owner. And even like in your career, like for me, with the 9 to 5, because, people will take advantage of you if you allow them to. So even if you work at a corporate job or something, you got to get comfortable with saying no. And, you just got to take what's best for you. And you got to realize what those opportunities are that are going to be beneficial for you. Because there can be opportunities that you can take on that make you worse off than if you didn't take them. So,
is there such thing as a bad opportunity?
Of course. Yeah, I mean,
what would that be?
It's let's say if you at your heart, at your core, you know that you don't want to work a 9 to 5, but if I offer you a job making $100,000 a year, you might take that opportunity because that's a nice, decent salary. But at your core, you're not going to want to do it. It's not going to be something that you will probably do long term. So then, essentially, let's say you get that job, you stay in it for like a year or two. You pretty much wasted a year or two of your life where you could have been doing something else, because you're not satisfied with what it is. Yeah. So it's like you can get involved in something that might look good, but it's not beneficial for you. And I think we see a lot of times with people taking certain jobs that they, like I said, chasing the bag. You want that sticker price that's associated with it. Or even, I hate to say it because I'm an educator, school isn't for everybody. There's different opportunities that you can take, but sometimes people get pushed into it because they think that that's what they're supposed to do, So, or getting pushed into a certain major. Those are opportunities that come up that people take all the time, but it's not necessarily what's best for them.
Well put, brother. Well put.
So, I mean, I think we should definitely open this conversation up to like our listeners and viewers. I'd be very interested to hear, what you guys' thoughts are on good opportunities, bad opportunities, over leveraging yourself, because that's an important one. And then what I'd really want to know is for my business owners or even people like in that 9 to 5, what got you to the point where you became comfortable saying no, on a consistent basis? Because I'm sure there's a lot of good stories just in that alone. So, make sure to, leave a comment, message us, whatever it is, get in touch with us so we can get the feedback from you guys.
That's been another episode of the Whoopin' the Doctor podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Curry, alongside my co-host, Dr. John Devereaux. Whatever you guys are listening to this on, don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment below.